OutKick Digital Series on this Thursday. Happy to have South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer join us this afternoon, talking about the upcoming season, looking back last year, and kind of going forward and what things will look like in his second year. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Hope you are, Trey.
Hey, good. Thanks so much for joining and coming off such a successful first year in so many different ways with the program in Columbia. When you look back on that 2021 season, which it hasn't been that long ago since you had that mayo dumped on you in Charlotte, but looking back on it, what are some key takeaways from your first year as a head coach at South Carolina?
The thing that stands out to me is just the group of guys that we had on the team. And, I just love the fight and competitive spirit that they had. I mean, we had some ugly Saturdays and we had some great Saturdays, but I never worried about coming in here on Sunday and having to like rally the troops to go practice again that week. They just loved being around each other and loved competing. And so that for one, and then we continued to get better as the season went on, and we played our best football down the stretch, and we weren't as consistent as we needed to be, over the entire season, but we finished on a strong note, and just it was a group that loved to compete. And we were looking at it yesterday as a staff, and I think in the fourth quarter of games this season, I mean, we outscored our opponents like 2-1 in the fourth quarter. And, so granted, some of those games were games where the game was out of hand in the fourth quarter, but to me, that's a great sign that our guys just continued to play and continued to work during the week. And that's the takeaways I took from it, that we better have a close-knit team. You got to have that to be successful. And we did last year.
It was interesting to me in covering this conference for so long, and in this conference so well, the quarterback situation, the amount of quarterbacks that you guys used last year and were successful with. You don't see that around the country anywhere. There were times you played four quarterbacks last season, technically, in a
Yeah.
sense. And for a story like Zeb Nolan coming in and he's on the field for you guys, and then it's Jason Brown, and Luke gets hurt, and then you got Jordan. Can you kind of walk me through the mindset of a head football coach in his first year, having to play so many different quarterbacks and getting success?
I wish I could. I've tried to prepare for if I ever got the opportunity to be a head football coach. I've been preparing for that for ever since I got into coaching, and I thought I had seen it all and had like a somewhere in a book I could go to. If okay, in this situation, here's how I would handle it. Playing four different quarterbacks and having a graduate assistant start your first game ever as a head football coach, in your first SEC game. That wasn't in the plans as far as how I prepared, for this. But I go back to those situations and knowing that as the head coach, as the leader, everybody's looking at me. And if I'm out there panicking and, oh my God, what are we going to do? Then everybody else is going to feel that way. So just tried to portray, confidence and consistency day in, day out. And then like we talked about when it happened, it wasn't just about Zeb or Jason or whoever else having to like play above themselves. They needed to play well, but then we needed everybody around them to just do their job and play well also. And we had a defense that was, very opportunistic and led the SEC in takeaways last season. And we had our moments, where we did some really good things on offense and helped those guys out, and as a team, we've got to be more consistent this upcoming season. But I think everybody just kind of rallied around the quarterback situation and found a way to scratch and claw and get 7 wins out of it.
The buy-in from your team is what kind of stood out to me in 2021 with all the adversity that a team goes through, and even at a quarterback spot, but different spots where you guys had injuries and you're trying to piece together at times to get through games. But then it seemed like, that Florida game, it's like, okay, South Carolina is they're playing up to their standard. This is what we're getting. And then you look at the next previous weeks, you take care of business against Auburn. What would you say about the buy-in from the players? Because it's always difficult as a first-year coach when you come in and you try to lay the groundwork of what you want. but it really seemed like that second half of the SEC season that it was kind of a full-on go from your whole team. Not saying it wasn't at first, but it seemed like they were really engaged that second part.
Yeah. No, I think in a lot of ways it was their belief in themselves finally getting up there and matching the belief I had in them. And I don't mean to believe that, or mean to say that they didn't believe in themselves or they weren't confident, but you know, it was frustrating on a lot of those Saturdays because I saw how we practiced during the week and I saw us getting better as a football team. And then for whatever reason, and it starts with me as the head coach, we went out there on Saturdays and didn't perform the way that I thought we were going to perform. The Tennessee game and the Texas A&M game, for example, and give Texas A&M and Tennessee credit. I mean, they were fantastic that day, but the way that we played in the first quarter in both those games, it was kind of like, what the heck? Because we had prepared so well for those games, and you know, we lost to Texas A&M badly out in College Station, and we had an off week, and it was really just guys, we got a hell of a football team. We really do. If we just, when we're doing these things, and you know, we had an off week. And really, you know, and I agree with you there is during that off week is really when I sat there and said, you know what, I think we're going to be pretty dang good here down the stretch, just because of the way that our guys practiced. And I knew during that week, we're going to be all right, because you know this from being around it so long, Trey, is you got an off week. A lot of teams, they're just ready for the weekend to get the heck away from football. And we just had a bad loss out in College Station on national television. A lot of teams wouldn't have come back during that off week and had the best week of practice that they had all season. We did. I mean, we had some awesome, competitive, spirited, high energy practices during that week. And then that just led right into the next week. And then we just kept it going after the Florida game. And certainly, you know, had some couple performances we weren't excited about after the Florida game, but we started doing the things that we needed to do to win football games. And we were looking at it yesterday as a staff. We pride ourselves on being a disciplined program. In the first 7 games, we weren't. We had something like, I think it was 58 penalties, I think, in the first 7 games. And then in the last 6 games, we had 24. And I mean, we cut our penalties in more than half. We started running the ball better. We had more explosive plays, all the things that probably every team in America talks about how they win football games, but we do a lot around here. We started doing those things, and that's a credit to the players and their buy-in, like you said.
So looking ahead now and the way things play out going forward and past the 21 season, looking ahead now to spring practice and what's going to happen in 2022. I want to talk about transfer portal just for a minute. We've seen different coaches have different taste on how they're going about this and how NIL influences things and whatnot. But when it comes to South Carolina football and what you guys were able to do, the additions you were able to make, and I'm not just talking about the quarterback position or the tight end position. You guys have added playmakers that will be able to contribute and help out in 2022 and beyond. How did you approach that going into the offseason? I know you guys keep up with that during the year and you see when players enter the portal, but what was that mindset after the season ended on what you guys needed to do on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, we knew that we talk about competition all the time here at South Carolina, and we knew we needed to increase the competition at a lot of positions for a lot of different reasons. And we knew we were probably going to have to do that in the transfer portal. But really, you go back to signing day in December, and okay, you finish that signing day, and it's kind of like, all right, where are we? And you know, you have certain number of guys you're trying to sign at certain positions, number wise. And frankly, there were some spots that we didn't get it done in December that we needed, that we felt like we needed to. Running back, for example, and we didn't sign a high school running back in December. We had Kevin Harris and Zaquandre White. We knew were going to be leaving after the bowl game. So you're sitting there saying, okay, you got these 2 guys leaving, and you're very thin at that position. We didn't get it done in December from a high school standpoint. We got to go attack the portal, quarterback position, with Jason Brown moving on, with Zeb Nolan becoming a graduate assistant again, with Luke's health. We're sitting there saying, man, just for spring practice alone, we've got Braden Davis, a high school prospect that we signed that we're excited about, but we don't have a lot of experience and we don't have a lot of depth. We need to add some depth to the quarterback position. So we were very strategic with it, knowing the positions that we needed help at for different reasons, ultimately increasing the competition at every position. And then just, reaching out to guys and recruiting guys like anybody else, and then making sure they'd be a fit for our program. And then you're right, we were able to sign some guys that I think are going to be some instant impact, type guys for us. And the success we had last year too with transfers. I mean, when we signed Jason Brown last year, nobody knew who Jason Brown was. We thought he was a pretty good player, and he is.
No, now.
David Spalding from Georgia Southern and Carlins Patel from Assumption College. We signed those guys, and people were probably like, who? Well, we thought we signed two really good defensive backs, and we did. They were our starting nickels all season long. So what we were able to do, Jordan Strawn coming from Georgia State, what we were able to do with transfers last year, I think, they had a great experience and made an impact on that off the field, and it helped us this year as well to be able to talk to young men about that.
Speaking of the quarterback real quick, with Spencer Rattler coming over, and I think everybody around the country has seen what he has done at Oklahoma. What was the selling point from you guys to Spencer? Hey, come play at South Carolina. We can fit your system, or we can help you grow your game. Because last year was a little bit rough for him, and we're not going to beat around the bushes on it, but he's such a talented football player, and he can help your roster. What was that like trying to, recruit Spencer to come to Columbia, and what do you think you're getting out of him?
Yeah, I think it was one, he and I had a relationship from my time at Oklahoma, the 3 years I spent there as an assistant coach. So he knew what I was about. And I told him that, I'm the head coach now, but I'm still the same person. Things haven't changed. You know what I'm about, and that's what I want this program to be about. We had Austin Stogner coming as a tight end transfer from Oklahoma, and Austin and Spencer were very close. And I think really the biggest thing, Trey, was just Austin came on a visit and had such an amazing time and absolutely loved this place that he started talking to Spencer about it. And Spencer and I started talking more after Austin's visit, but I think it was really, Austin had such a great time and said so many great things about this place that it really opened up Spencer's eyes to it even more. And then from us, it was, look, we won 7 games this year playing 4 different quarterbacks. We've got all the pieces coming back on offense. We lose Nick Muse, our tight end. Kevin and Zaquandre went to the NFL, but other than that, every receiver, that played meaningful snaps is returning. Every tight end that played meaningful snaps is returning except Nick. Well, we got Austin Stogner coming in to fill that role. Every single offensive lineman is returning that started for us last year. So we got a lot of good pieces around you, come in here and compete. And then I think for him, the opportunity to play in the SEC was appealing. And I also think the system that we run, people make a big deal out of different types of offenses. Are you pro style? Are you air raid? Whatever it may be. But what we do here offensively, is a little bit different than what he was doing at Oklahoma. And it's a little bit more of a, pro style oriented, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I think that was appealing for him too, to be able to prepare himself for the next level, to get exposed to stuff from that standpoint also.
I want to get your opinion real quick on NIL and name, image, and likeness, and how it has changed college football. Let's be honest, it really has. And going forward, it'll be interesting to see what kind of rules maybe are set in place. I don't know how they do that. We're going to find out soon, probably, when it comes to this. But we've seen a lot of your colleagues in the conference have a big voice and say some things about NIL and kind of, in a way, go after each other in a fun way. But your take overall on where we stand right now with NIL, how, I know you can't directly be involved with NIL, but from your perspective, how it's helped South Carolina, and what do you think of the situation we're currently in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I'm in favor of being able to help our players, the student athletes at universities in any way that we can. And, happy for them for what they've been able to do. And so many of them here at South Carolina are utilizing the money they brought in and being able to give back to the community, which has been proud of those guys and what they've been able to do. And then, like everything, you always, you implement something, which we have, and you constantly try and find ways to make it better for everyone involved. And that's what, the leaders in college athletics are doing right now. And then I would say what I tell prospects all the time, and I believe it, from a NIL standpoint, very few programs are as well situated to help their student athletes more so than the University of South Carolina, because we are in the capital of South Carolina. We don't compete with any of the major pro sports here in this state. We don't have an NFL team, an NBA team, a Major League Baseball team here in this state. There's the University of South Carolina and our rival up the road, and we're the only two Power 5 programs in the state. And particularly in Columbia, it's not a big city, but it's not a small rural college town either. There's a lot of opportunities available, to prospect or to student athletes here at South Carolina. And you're in a town that loves Gamecock athletics. And you see that, our women's basketball team is going to play Tennessee this weekend with College Game Day here. And from what I understand, there's not going to be a seat open in the entire arena. And they've won a national championship. You've got a baseball team that's won 2 national championships here, and the following that they have. So there's a great following that our athletes have, and we're well situated, well suited to, to be able to capitalize on it and help our guys in any way.
Okay, so fun question here.
Hang on, Trey.
Yeah.
I got way too much technology in this office. The lights just go off automatically.
Hey, it happens. It's no big problem. That's why we do this.
I know. What happened to just the good old light switches where you just turn them on and off? So sorry.
You need to get you a switch, Shane. Come on, now. Good.
I do.
Hey, what are you doing then? What do you do to decompress from football? With the family. What do you guys do getting away? Don't want to give away your hiding spot or your go away place, but a lot of times in college football, and this, it's a stress on the families that are involved with the coaches as well. Mm-hmm. How do you approach that with your football program, your assistant coaches, and what does a guy like you, like to do in your off time?
Yeah, for me, it's I love that I'm in a profession that you can include your families to a certain degree. So I want this to be a place where the wives and children are welcome. And if you come around our facility, you're going to see kids running up and down the hall at all times, and they're going to be at practice and they're going to be around the locker room after games and things like that, because there are a lot of hours that we have to spend here as coaches. There are a lot of sacrifices that our families make when we're gone recruiting and things like that. So anytime we can include our family and stuff, I want to. And I think it's great for our players to see us as husbands and fathers and all that as well. And then for me, it's trying to, when I am at home, be present and be at home and be dad. And it's hard to because you never can turn really your cell phone off from a recruiting standpoint and things like that. But when I'm at home and kids need to help me with homework or want to shoot baskets in the driveway or whatever it may be, I want to do that. And I'm fortunate that my wife still likes hanging out with me. And my kids haven't gotten tired of me yet. They still enjoy going places and hanging out and things like that. So we like to, something as simple as just going for walks in our neighborhood here in Columbia and getting out and getting some exercise and doing that as a family, or South Carolina is such a great state because there's so many things around, and the fact that I could be on the coast of South Carolina at the beach in less than 2 hours, or I could be in Charlotte, North Carolina in an hour and a half, or we could be in the mountains here in an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's great because you can go a lot of places in a short period of time. But, we love going to the beach as a family, and there's some great beaches in South Carolina. So love getting away. And, this time of year, try and spend as much family time as I can. And I'm a guy, I love to, used to like to play golf and still do, but Don't have the time for that much anymore, as much as I'd like to have at least. And love to read, so for me personally, love to read regularly and spend time with family. So I'm pretty boring. I wish I had something more exciting for you than that.
Actually, that's really not that bad. That's kind of sums up everything that probably a college coach or anybody would like, and
Yeah.
especially how close you are to the beaches and whatnot too. Hey, last two questions. I really appreciate you joining us today. Um, Looking ahead to spring practice, which is going to start, I don't know, we're just over a month away from spring practice starting. You guys doing something cool for the spring game that's going to be going on. Just talk about what you're looking forward to the most, getting back out there on the field with your players, and what you're looking to do from a football standpoint, because you're coming out of year one, going into year two, so you've set up everything what you want. Now you want to see that continue to grow.
Yeah. Excited about spring practice just for that. I mean, everybody, we there's so many great things about being a football coach in the SEC, but ultimately we all get into coaching because we love to teach. We love being around young people. We love being out on the field. And that's the biggest thing for me is, it was awesome. Like last night, we finally had like our first like team activity out on the field, being able to do some agility things and stuff like that. But that was the first time that we have been out there with the team on the field, all coaches at one time since really the bowl game. And we've got a lot of new faces. They've been in the weight room and we've had some individual stuff, but full group, it was great to finally be back out there again, like we were able to last night. So just being able to get back out there and compete and coach and teach. And there's going to be a lot of excitement about South Carolina football this spring, and rightfully so, and a lot of energy about it across this city and state and nationwide in so many ways. And a lot of eyes are on us. But I think for me, we've got to do a great job of instilling to our players that by no means, nobody thinks we have, but by no means is 7 wins the ultimate goal. Like we can be so much better, and understanding all the work that went into winning 7 games. And it's going to take that much more to take the next step. Like people say to me, wow, I saw one of those way too early preseason polls and you guys are ranked 25th. And I'm like, yeah. And I also see, I think 8 of our opponents are ranked ahead of us as well. So you know what you sign up for in this league. And there's so many areas that we have to improve. I mean, I've spent this week just kind of studying statistics and looking back at last year and looking ahead at this year. And, there's so many things we did well last season, but there's so many areas that we look at, situational football and things like that you can point to and say, that is why we did not win that football game. And I mentioned penalties earlier in the interview, and that's one. And we got to do a better job of running the ball and stopping the run than we did last season. And we got to create more explosive plays offensively and things like that. And we got to be better on turnovers. We've turned the ball over on offense way too much last season. We led the SEC in takeaways, but we also led the SEC in giveaways. We can't do that. And, just looking at ways to be better and just focus. I know it's cliche, but just focusing on how we can get better this day and then put another day on top of that. And then, continue to get ready for the football season.
How have you enjoyed the way the city of Columbia, the state of South Carolina, the fan base across the country, which there's a lot of Gamecock fans across the country. I don't think people really realize that a lot.
Yeah.
It's so spread out. But how have you enjoyed that, and how have you felt embraced by the state? Again, you've gone down this road before, but not as a head coach, not as the person that is technically running the show. You're a Beamer, okay, but it's also coming in, and you're running your own program here. How has that gone? And how excited are you to be able to put another different product on the field in 2022 for this fan base?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I knew that coming into it because of my time here. And that's why I was so outspoken about how much of a desire my wife and I had to come back here, because we loved living here so much for so many reasons. And a big part of that is the awesome following and fan base that we have. I mean, they're special, and it's been great, before the season, the way that we were accepted. And then obviously when you win 3 out of your last 5, you beat Florida, you beat Auburn, and then you beat North Carolina in the bowl game like we do, it certainly makes the off season a lot better, because you don't have a game the next week. So you've got 8 months of people feeling really good right now as well because of the way we finished the season. But it's been great. That's why I love Columbia. It's a college town. It's a great city, but it is a college town. And I was blessed to grow up the son of a head coach that I saw at an early age that's part of the job. Like if you don't want to coach in the SEC, great, but don't complain about, not about people being mad at you when you're not out in the public and you're visible and things like that. Like I love going out and being around Columbia with my family and seeing other Gamecocks and talking Carolina football and taking pictures and all that stuff as well. I love that part of it. And it's been awesome. And there is a lot of excitement, and it's humbling to me when people come up to me and say they've never been more excited about South Carolina football, or somebody comes up to me and says that they, stopped getting season tickets however recently ago, but they're getting them again now. And, it's that's one of the many cool parts of the job. And it's very humbling. And like I said, we've got a lot of work to do, but I'm fortunate to be doing it around an unbelievably great, group of supporters and alumni here that follow the Gamecocks.
Shane Beamer, South Carolina head football coach, heading into 2022 spring practice. I can't believe it, because honestly, the season just ended and we're just hopping right back in this thing. So, but Coach, I appreciate you coming on. Look forward to getting over to Columbia and checking things out. And thanks again.
Yep, you bet. Hope to see you here soon. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, James.